Hello and welcome everyone to today's cloud coaching session on unleashing the potential of Jenkins Agent on OCI for streamlined workflows. Thank you for joining us. My name is Tara Van Cleve and I am a marketing event manager for the developer initiative here at Oracle. So today we're excited to show you how you can supercharge your Jenkins setup by harnessing the power of Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And we'll also be recording the session, so you'll receive the recording via the same email you registered with for today's event. If you have any questions during the webinar, please drop them in the Zoom chat and Q&A areas, and we'll be ready to help answer them there. We've also set up a channel in our developer public Slack called Cloud Coaching North America that you can access at the QR code or at bit.ly/odevrel_Slack. And we'll leave this channel open after the event to contact us directly with any questions and to share resources and upcoming events in the series. Today's webinar will be presented by Saipriya Thirvakadu, Senior Cloud Engineer. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Saipriya.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. All right. Hey, everyone. So let's get started. We all know that the Jenkins is an open source automation platform that helps the developers and DevOps engineers to continuously build, test, and deploy software projects. So while you have your entire pipeline on Jenkins, so you always wish to leverage the power of OCI and Oracle Kubernetes engine to deploy your application. I'm Saipriya, a senior cloud engineer from the innovation team. Today, we are going to talk about unleashing the potential of Jenkins agent on OCI for the streamlined workflows. That being said, here's the agenda for today's session. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the architecture components and overview, and then introduce you to Oracle Container Engine for Kubernetes, Oracle Container Registry, and Jenkins Agent. And after that, we are going to see a quick demonstration. And then I'm going to walk you guys through the entire demonstration, talk about different components which we are using, and also take you guys through each of these components, how we have configured it and how we have built it out. And then I'll take you guys through the Code Innovate program overview, followed by question and answer. So what is Container Engine for Kubernetes? So Kubernetes is an open source container orchestration platform, right? So it automates the deployments, scaling, and management of containerized applications. So in general, like you have two core pieces of the Kubernetes cluster. So the first part is where like you have the control plane. So the control plane is responsible for managing the state of the cluster. And the data plane is used to run the containerized applications. So what problems does it solve, right? So sometimes it gets too tedious and too complex for you to spend so much expensive money on building and maintaining the environments. So it also gets too hard to integrate the Kubernetes with registry. So if you have to deploy or build an image, and if you want to deploy it on the registry, it gets slightly more complex. And for you to manage the container lifecycle on your own, it's kind of tedious. And it also is difficult for you to give different accesses to different people. So let's say if you want only certain set of users to have access to the production clusters. So that all this like will be very easy for you to do it by using the OCI and the power of Kubernetes. Some of the key benefits is that so you could enable your developers to easily manage and deploy the containers and provide the DevOps teams to check the status of the nodes and also like your pods and run your deployments and so on, right? So you wanted them to have access and see the status of all of these environments. And you would also like to build like production grade system, right? So you might wanted to have an orchestration platform in order to develop and build the production grade systems, for which you need like definitely very good security, access control mechanism, and also with the help of the identity and access management, you'll be able to manage all of these instances and provide the right amount of access to each user without any hassle. Let's dive a little bit more into what an OCIR is, what an OKE is, right? So OCIR is like Oracle Container Registry, and it makes it easy for you as a developer to store and share and manage the containerized images. So you could have your own Docker images, build it, and then save it in your private OCIR, that is the registry within the Oracle Cloud Platform itself, and make it highly available and scalable within the OCI. And it ensures that you are able to reliably deploy your applications on Kubernetes environment, or you could also leverage this OCIR image in like functions and other cloud native services as well. And then you could, as you can see here, like on the left side, you see OCIR as well as Kubernetes master node. So within OCIR, you could also like have like vulnerability scanning and also sign the images for extra security. And along with OCIR, we also have the master nodes within the OKE. So within the master node, you have like a cluster management, and you could have like highly available masters, HCD, and which is there across different availability domains. You could also have like a container engine dashboard as well. But the only thing which customer is managing is the nodes, right? So the nodes can be like virtual machines or bare metal clusters. And this is all on the OCI platform. So let's see how we can launch the Jenkins agent from the Jenkins master instance. So what we are going to do is that within this demonstration which I'm going to present, I will be launching my own Jenkins instance, Jenkins installed on the OCI instance, which is there on the public subnet, and then being able to run some jobs and then spin up the Jenkins agents within different compute instances as slave nodes within OCI. And then what we're going to do is we are going to have the Jenkins master and then run the build, and it spins up different Jenkins agents. And this Jenkins agent is able to deploy your Node.js application onto Kubernetes cluster. So indirectly, the Kubernetes cluster is accessing the image from the OCIR, that is Oracle Container Registry, and then we are exposing this application by using the load balancer. So we can dive into the demonstration. For the sake of time, what I've done is I've written down some of the steps of how I've configured the master Jenkins instance. So I've logged into the Oracle Cloud Console, and then I was able to create my own compute instance. And in that, I need to run the yum updates. Like I've created like a Linux instance, and then I've run like yum update, and then installed Java in it, and then installed Jenkins. So here are the steps. And after I installed and enabled the Jenkins onto this compute instance, I'm going to enter my initial username and password and log in into the Jenkins console. So let's go ahead and then take a look at how it'll look like. So let me go ahead and then share my browser. All right. So once I log into Oracle Cloud Console, it's going to look something like this. So what I've done is I went to the navigation on the top left, and here you see compute, and we'll go ahead and click on the instances. So here's where you can see all your instances. You can pick the compartment. On the left side, there's a root compartment, and I see a lot of compartments here. However, the one which I created is S0. So this is the compartment name. So what I'm going to do is I've created a compute instance. I'm going to log into this compute instance from, I'm going to SSH into the compute instance from my local system. So here is my terminal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to SSH into this. So I'm going to type in my SSH ID _ RSA. So I'm going to point it out to my private key and then log into the IP address. Login OPC is my username, and I'm going to type in my public IP address. So currently I'm logged into my system. All right. So once I log into my system, what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to run a few commands. So the first thing which I want to run is that I want to like install the Git. So just make sure that you're installing Git. So once the Git has been installed, you can go ahead and verify whether the Git is properly installed or not. So I'll just type out again Git so that if I get a list of commands, that means it is installed. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my Jenkins console. Let's go to this tab and then type in 8080 and then type in my username and then my password. And then you can see that the Jenkins has been successfully installed. So this is my master Jenkins instance. So the next thing which I'm going to do is I'm going to enable some plugins. So for enabling the plugins, I need to go to Manage Jenkins. And in here, I'll see there is plugins. In the plugin section, you will notice that there is available plugins. And let's look up for Oracle plugin. So as you can see, there are multiple Oracle plugins right here. One is for Java, other is for compute and DevOps plugin, and so on. But the one which we are going to leverage now is the compute plugin. And we are also going to enable Docker. So let me go ahead and then install this as well. So this is going to take a couple of seconds to install. So, all right, so it has been successfully installed. What we'll do now is that we will go ahead and create a new cloud here. Go to Manage Jenkins and then look up for clouds. Here, you have an option to add a new cloud here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in Oracle as the cloud name and then select the Oracle Compute Instance plugin. So this is the one which we just installed and it is automatically visible here. So I'm going to select the type as Oracle Cloud Compute plugin and then I'm going to create one. So here I need to add some credentials. So click on plus add button and then click on Jenkins credential provider. So the first thing which I need to do is to add the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure credentials. Here, you need to get some information from the Oracle Cloud Console. So how would you get this tenancy ID? Go back to your Oracle Cloud Console. Probably I'll just duplicate this tab. So once I go here, I can click on the human icon on the top right, and you'll notice that there is a tenancy name. So click on the tenancy name, and then you'll notice an OCID, that is Oracle Cloud Identifier. You're going to copy this and then paste it here in this browser. All right. So once this is done, this is your tenancy ID, and then I'm going to use my region. So I'm going to use US-Ashburn1. So this is the region I'm going to use. And then I'm going to get the fingerprint. So how would I get the fingerprint? You need to go back to your console and then click on the human icon on the top right, and then go to your username. So here's my username. And then I'm going to see there is an API key section. Click on the API key section and then copy the fingerprint. So here, how did I create this fingerprint? You'll have to click on Add API Key, and then you could download this private as well as public key, and then you can add this to your API key, and automatically you can see the fingerprint. However, I'm going to use my existing fingerprint right here. So I'm going to copy and then paste it. Okay, so here's my fingerprint. And then I have just downloaded the API key, right? So you go to your private API key. Let me go ahead on my other screen and then pull up the OCI folder. And in the OCI folder, it's going to look something like this. And in here, I have my private key. So I'm going to right click, open with an text editor, copy, paste my private key here. All right, so once this is done, let me go ahead and confirm. Yeah, so this is the right key. So now let's go ahead and add the username. Go to your users, and then here is your OCID. Copy the user OCID and then paste it here. And then write the ID and give it a description. Probably I'll just make it as OCI cred. And then I'll go ahead and verify the credentials. Now that the verification is successful, I'll click on add. All right, so we have added our OCI credentials. So the next thing which we need to do is that we need to add an instance template. So click on add a new instance template and then give it a description. So here, this is going to be the template which we are going to launch through the Jenkins master node. So here, I'm going to write it as Jenkins slave. And then probably like use this one. We only build jobs with the label expressions matching this node. I'm going to give it a label. Okay, so this is the label I've given. And then whenever the job notices this label, that's when it launches the instance template. Here, because my credentials are being verified, I'm able to pull up all the compartments from my Oracle Cloud account and then select the availability domain and then pick the compartment. So this is the compartment where I can fetch the images from. So you can go ahead and then select. Here I'm going to select the Oracle Linux developer for the purpose of this demonstration. And then I'm going to pick like Oracle E4 Flex. And then it comes up with one OCPU and 8 GB memory. And then from my virtual cloud network, I'm going to pick my virtual cloud network, that is Jenkins master, and then select the compartment. So once this is done, the next step is to add the SSH credentials. So sometimes it doesn't show up. So what we'll do is we'll click on save, and then we'll go back to configuring this, and then scroll down, and then you'll notice that the Jenkins pops up like under the SSH credentials. Select the Jenkins credentials provider, and here pick the SSH username. So here let me type in the ID as OPC, and then SSH credentials, and then type in the username as OPC and enter the private key. Here, I've already generated an SSH key. So let me go ahead and then pull up my SSH folder. So I'm using a Mac, so I'm going to .ssh folder, and I'm going to pick the private key of my SSH. And then paste it here in the private key section. All right. So now what I'll do is I'll click on add in order to add the SSH credentials. So once the configuration is complete, I'm going to apply and then save it. All right. So once I've configured my Oracle Cloud account, the next step is to create a Jenkins job. So before I could create a Jenkins job, I want to take you guys through what my Node.js application is. So I have configured my Node.js application in my Git. So all the code is right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this application in my local. I've cloned this in my local, and you can see that there is index.html. It's a simple HTML page, and I'm going to Dockerize this and then push it to the Node.js application. So push it to the Kubernetes cluster. So here is the HTML page, which is kind of straightforward. And this is my app.js, app.js. And then I'm exposing this application for the port number 3000. And in the container file, so unlike like you would have seen Docker file and a container file, right? So the container file, we are going to use it because within the Jenkins job, if you observe, we will be using Podman instead of Docker. So because we are going to use Podman, we need to create like a container file, which is very similar to a Docker file. And it has like it has a from, that is node, and then working directory, copy, and all of this. And after that, what we're going to do is I've also created like a YAML file for us to deploy the application onto Kubernetes cluster. So what I'm doing is I'm creating a deployment. So this is a deployment file. I'm going to deploy this on the from the OCIR. So iad.ocir.io. So this is the image which I'm going to use. I build this image and then deploy this image onto OCIR. And the same image I'm going to use in order to deploy it on the Kubernetes cluster. So here I'm also creating a service called as Node App LB. So this is going to be my load balancer, which I'm going to deploy it on the Kubernetes. I think it's pretty clear and straightforward, right? So let's go back and then configure this. So before that, what you need to do is you need to create your own Kubernetes cluster. So for which you click on the navigation on the top left, and you'll see that there's developer services. You can click on the Kubernetes clusters and then click on create cluster in order to click on, like you can have two options. One is quick create and custom create. I'm going to click on quick create and then submit it. So here there are different ways for me to configure it. I can pick the API endpoint I want, whether it is a private endpoint or a public endpoint. But here for this demonstration, I'm using the public endpoint. There are two types of nodes, managed node as well as virtual node. For this purpose of the demonstration, we are going to use managed nodes. But what is the difference between these two? So managed nodes is where, like, if you have observed in the presentation which I've shown, there was like the customer managed node. That is like you're managing your entire virtual machine. You're managing the data plane layer completely. However, in the virtual node, you're just worried about the application, but underlying infrastructure of the worker node is also being taken care by the Kubernetes engine itself. So we also have like private nodes or public worker nodes. You can pick like whether if you want to connect it to the private subnet or the public subnet. And then pick the node shape and then select the image as Linux and pick the node count. Like you, for now, let it be one node, but you can spin up as many nodes as you want. So I have already spun up the cluster, and the way you need to access this cluster is that there is an access button right here. And you click on this. There are two ways for you to access this cluster. So one is using the Oracle Cloud Shell. The other is using the local access. So for you to access the Oracle Cloud Shell, you can launch the Cloud Shell by clicking on the developer tools and clicking on Cloud Shell, or you could directly launch the Cloud Shell from here. And what the first step is you need to do is that you need to click on copy here to access the kube config. You have to create a kube config and then like add it here. So go ahead and then paste this, and then you are able to merge the kube config. All right, so now that it has been merged in my Cloud Shell, what the next step which I need to do is that I need to go back to my Jenkins console and then create a new job. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and click on plus new item and then start typing out our name of the job. So here I'm going to just make it as a simple name, it's sample, and then I'm going to like create like a freestyle project. There are multiple ways for you to like, you can pick different types of projects, but for this purpose, I'm just going to pick the freestyle project and click OK. So once I create a job, the next thing is that there is like an option for you to restrict where this project can be run. So as you remember in my previous step, we have created a Jenkins slave, a label called Jenkins slave. So whenever you see a label with Jenkins slave, that's when you need to check the template of the Jenkins slave label, and then that's the instance you want to launch. So let me type in Jenkins slave here. Okay, so looks like there is one cloud which is matching this label. And then I'm going to add my GitHub repository. So this is where I have my code base. So I'm going to use the same GitHub repository. I can probably like go here and copy the HTTPS and then paste it here. And after this, we have also added the OPC, the SSH credentials here. I'm going to add the SSH credentials right here. And after that, I'm going to delete this master because we do not have a master branch in our repository. And the next step is to click on add build step, and then I'm going to select this execute shell script. So this is where we are going to add our shell script. Let me go ahead and then paste the shell script. All right. So I'm going to pull it up from my other screen, and then I'm going to paste it here. So let's take you guys through what this shell script, how we have configured this shell script. So when I spoke about Podman is a daemonless container engine for developing, managing, and running the OCI container on your Linux system. So we are using the Podman as a good replacement for Docker because it is like more secure, more portable, and more flexible. So it does help you to use like your containers without root privileges. And you could also like have enhanced security and portability using Podman. So we will be using this daemonless Podman instead of Docker. Here, like Podman build, and this is the step which it's the same as the Docker commands. We're going to just replace the Docker word with Podman. We're going to add Podman images, login, and then log into the to your instance by creating your own authentication token. So go back to your users. For you to create your auth token, go to your auth tokens, and then you can click on generate token, type in the token name, and the token will be generated. So use the same token. So that is like one-time token. So you cannot like keep generating it. You can generate it once, save it, and then like you can reuse the same. But then you cannot like copy the token again. So I've generated a token. I'm going to add the token in order to log into my instance. And then like I'm pushing this to the demo K8. So this is the image which I'm creating, and I'm going to push it to the OCIR instance, OCIR, that is Oracle Container Registry. And after that, I'm going to configure the OCI config. So this is a step wherein you're able to take the config file. In my config file, I'll have my tenancy OCID, user OCID, and then the API key, which I'm planning to use, and all of that. So I'm going to use that config file, and then like use that config file in order to use my kubectl commands. So here, like I've created my OCI PEM file. I have downloaded it from the object storage. And then I'm going to install and configure kubectl. So this is my kubeconfig command, which I can copy from my Kubernetes cluster. So when you click on access cluster, so this is the command which you can copy to access the kubeconfig for your cluster via VCN native cloud public endpoint. All right, so once this has been copied and used, we will be installing the kubectl into this Linux system. And after that, we are going to apply the Node.js application into OKE. So these are the regular kubectl commands. So we are going to check the kube version and then create a secret. That is, we are going to create like an OCIR secret. And then I'm going to delete my old configuration and then replace it with the new deployment file. So let's save this and then apply the changes. Let me go ahead and then build it. Let me just confirm whether everything is configured correctly. So here is my sample workspace. So that's the name which I've given here to create the job. So what happens in the background? If you see that it is searching for the label Jenkins slave. So let's go back to our manage Jenkins console and let's go to our nodes. And notice that there's a queue here. And in here, let's go to clouds and click on configure. And this is the Jenkins slave label which we have given. It's going to spin up the Oracle Linux developer image, E4 Flex, and all of this configuration. We can also verify what is the status in the console as well. Let's go to your compute instance and click on instances. And let's see if anything got spun up. All right, let's verify, go back. And then you notice that there is an OCI Compute instance which has been spun up. If you go to nodes, you'll notice that there is an OCI Compute instance, and then this instance with Linux image is being spun up. And it started to run the configuration. Let's take a look at the logs. Go to the console output. You will be able to see everything in detail, like if we encounter any errors. So everything is all visible here. So currently it is generating the OCIR image, the container image, and it's going to push it to the OCIR. Let's go ahead and then check the Oracle Container Registry. Click on the navigation on the top left and go to Developer Services, and then go to the Container Registry. And in here, go to my root compartment, and then look up for so this is the repository which I created. And then let's check whether the image has been created or not. Looks like it has been pushed. Let's verify. I'll go ahead and refresh the page just to check. Okay, so this image was created just a few seconds ago. All right, so now that we can check the status of the image, let's see what the status of the job is. Looks like the deployment has been created and the service has been created successfully, but then we need to actually verify whether it's working fine or not, and then see whether the load balance is being created for us. So you can just go ahead and then type in kubectl get services. And then you'll notice that there is a load balancer which was generated. And then your Node.js application has been deployed successfully. So this is the end-to-end demonstration for you to deploy a Node.js application or any application in general into Oracle Kubernetes engine. So that being said, let's move on and then discuss about what a code innovate program is. So before I could talk about the Code Innovate program, let me tell you a short story. So here we have these kids who go on a fun trip to Legoland. And one thing which they enjoy the most is the Master Builder class. So once they enter into the Master Builder class, they have been given a bag of disassembled Lego pieces. So at the end of the program, the kids build these cute little penguins, which is on the desk. The master builder is showing different ways, but then he doesn't give any instructions However, the kids figure it out and they build out these penguins at the end of the day, which is kind of cool, right? So this is what a code innovator is all about in its simplest form. So it gives you a hands-on experience on the Oracle Cloud Services. So if you would like to leverage any of these use cases, so if you have an interest in PaaS on IaaS services, and if you want to learn about any technology, please do come back to us. And we would be aligning the Oracle engineer from our team, will be working closely with you guys to build something cool on Oracle Cloud. So this is absolutely no cost. So the reason why we are having this code innovate is that we would like to facilitate a rapid amount of knowledge sharing by building your own use case, building your first pass prototype in the matter of 5 half business days. So you could bring in your own use case. We will work closely with you to have the cadence with you guys each week. And once we do that, we will have like rapid amount of knowledge sharing and we'll experience all of this during this course of 5 business days. And at the end of the program, you will build a first pass prototype. And at the end of the session, you will be given an opportunity to present whatever you have built to your leadership team. So if you're interested in this program, you can contact us on this email address, or you can drop in your email addresses in the Zoom chat window. We'll be more than happy to work with you, collaborate with you, and then work on the code innovate together. Yeah, now I'll open up for more questions.
Thank you all so much again for joining us here today, and we hope to see you at the next one.